Welcome to another episode, everyone. Oklahoma City has a gang problem, and that gang problem is the Hoover criminals. The underground Crips came out there to Oklahoma City looking to take over a piece of the Hoovers' territory and get involved in the narcotics trade. But the Hoovers were not inclined to share their revenue. Instead, they said, "We'll go to war." And to war, they went. Let's get into it.
I am from 107 Hoover Crib.
Ranks Oklahoma City right up there with Los Angeles in the number of gang-related murders.
It could be your neighborhood, my neighborhood. It really doesn't matter. You may think you don't have a gang problem on your street, but the fact is gangs are here and they affect us all.
I've been wanting to talk about this shit for a long time.
I'm gonna tell you like this.
All right.
The van, I stole the van.
Who did you hear did this?
Lindsay, baby. That's who I'm hearing. That's not who I'm saying now. So I just need a lawyer.
In the 1980s, Oklahoma City was becoming a dangerous place. The crime rate was rising fast, and murders were happening more often. People were scared to go outside at night because the streets weren't safe. Cars were getting shot up, and innocent people were being hit in the crossfire. The reason behind all this violence? Gangs were fighting for control, and one of the most feared gangs at the time was the Hoover criminals. The Hoover criminals were ruthless and powerful. They ruled the east side of Oklahoma City, making sure that no other gang could take over their territory. They had a reputation for being tough and willing to do whatever it took to stay on top. One of the biggest reasons they were so strong was because of their connections to California. They had two plugs from Gardena and Los Angeles, California. Around this time, another gang from California called the Underground Crips decided they wanted to establish themselves in the area. They saw how much money and power the Hoovers had, and they thought they could take some of it for themselves. But what they didn't realize was that the Hoover criminals weren't going to let that happen. The Hoovers had already built a strong foundation in Oklahoma, and they weren't about to let some new gang come in and take what they had worked so hard to control. The Hoovers responded with violence. On March 13th, 1988, two men, Patrick Bradley, 36, and Daryl Robinson, 23, forced their way into an apartment in southwest Oklahoma City. Both men were known members of the Hoover criminals. They believed that a member of the Underground Crips was trying to sell drugs in their hood, and this pissed them off. Bradley and Robinson forced their way into a small apartment, ready to make a statement. The place was a known drug spot, and they weren't there to talk things out. Bradley didn't hesitate. He swung his pistol and struck one of the men inside, knocking him down. Robinson's face was hidden behind a Halloween mask, and he didn't waste any time either. He lifted his gun and fired. The bullet hit 19-year-old Debrecia Lewis in the throat. The attack was quick, brutal, and left no room for misunderstanding. Before they left, the two men grabbed $800 worth of cocaine. But it wasn't just about the drugs, it was about control. They wanted to send a warning. As they stormed out, a witness, Ernest Barnett, heard one of them shout, "You running up from LA with those drugs. We're going to start drilling some of you." The message was clear. This was Hoover business. This attack left a lasting impact on the community. People now feared the Hoovers in Oklahoma City, realizing that they weren't here to play. After the murder, Robinson planned his route to Los Angeles, where it was rumored he would lay low and hang with the Hoovers from over there, but was later caught in LA and sent back to Oklahoma to face the consequences. By July 10th, 1994, 5 suspects had been arrested in connection to the shooting death of 29-year-old Marshall Hughes. Hughes, who was from Spring Valley, California, was an innocent bystander caught in the middle of a gang-related shootout. The shooting happened on Northeast 23rd Street, between Martin Luther King and Kelly Avenue. Hughes was not involved in the gang violence, but tragically lost his life in the crossfire. This turned out to be another deadly war involving the Hoovers. This deadly shootout reportedly started when members of the 24 Karat Crips wanted "get back" on the Hoovers. The violence started after an incident where bottles were thrown at a car, sparking a violent retaliation between the two gangs. James Charles McKnight, 21, was arrested.
Okay, this dude talking fast as hell. Okay, so they got a lot going on. So the Hoovers, this unaliving, this murder happened in 1988 against a dude from Underground, where he said they kicked in the door and gunned him down. So these dudes have been around for a very long time out here in Oklahoma. In fact, some of them were caught for this unaliving in 1994. So this has been ongoing for decades upon decades out here in Oklahoma.
Arrested by Oklahoma City police after an arrest warrant was issued. Authorities believe McKnight was involved in the shooting that escalated into the violent clash between the rival gangs. At least 4 other suspects were on the run. Johnny Darnell Wallace, 16, also known as Homicide, and Terry Eugene Williams, 18, who goes by the nickname Snoopy, have both been charged with murder and shooting with intent to kill. Wallace and Williams are believed to be affiliated with the 24 Karat Crips. Williams had been arrested before on August 3rd.
The 24 karat Crips.
31st, when he was attempting to enroll at Grant High School and was taken in as a material witness. Other individuals held on murder complaints related to Hughes' death include James A. Tees, 21, London Rhodes, 16, and DeAndre Alexander, 18, all from Oklahoma City. Tragically, Hughes, an innocent bystander, lost his life during the gang rivalry. He was caught in the crossfire when the violence between the two gangs turned deadly. But what most people don't know about the Hoover criminals is that they were one of the most militant gangs in Oklahoma in the 80s through the 2000s. Many of their members joined the army, learned military tactics, and then returned home to teach others, turning them into trained assassins.
MySpace right now. We're just looking up an individual here that's in the military out at Fort Sill. Right here's where he's talking about he's just working hard. He's in his uniform. And then you go with this picture right here. Got him and some of his friends. It says West Side Banging. Right here they're throwing Hoover sign. It's an every night deal that we deal with someone that's a gang member in the military. Most of the time people just can't believe that gangs are in the military. I guess they, apparently they're the ones that go to bed at 10 o'clock at night and don't realize after 10 o'clock almost.
Yes, of course, gangs are in the military. Gangs are everywhere. They're young men. They start gang banging at an early age. They don't get to the military till they're 18, 19, 20. What have you. They started gang banging at 12, 13, 11, like I did. So by the time they get to the military, they're already members from their gang. It's entrenched in them, ingrained and embedded, and they stick with it, even though they're in the military. And yes, they go there, they train, and they bring the expertise back to their hood. Of course, the same way Al-Qaeda and other people have went and trained and then came back and brought the expertise. That's the way it goes. Don't be surprised that there are gang members in the military.
Come out, but most of the time they can't believe that the military even put up with this. Not only, like I said, are they doing the crimes here, they're going overseas and committing the crimes. You know, they're doing the tagging over there, they're doing some of the killing, some of the rapes, things going on over there. A lot of these kids, once they join the military or join the gangs, and even though they join the military, they're still aligned with that gang, and they'll still call that gang their family, even though they're in the military. So some of them get out, but very rarely have we seen any of them get out and stay out. We had one individual that we arrested. I think we had 48 contacts with him, anywhere from weapons to traffic, picking up other gang members after homicide shootings, and we approached the military with that information. They checked on it. They called me back and said the guy was a hero, that he pulled a guy from a burning Humvee, and there wasn't nothing they would do with him. So as of right now, we've yet to see anything done to any of them.
In early 2006, the gangs in Lawton became active. One night, outside a nightclub, a gang-related shooting shook the city, leading to a huge investigation. Military soldiers suspected of being tied to the Southside Oak Piru Bloods and the Lawton View criminal gang were involved. The shooting left one person dead and sent shockwaves through the community. This made the Lawton Gang Task Force and officials at Fort Sill concerned. It wasn't just random violence. Gang members from groups like the 107, 74, and 800 Hoover criminals were enlisting in the military. The Hoovers made it too easy to get caught. Their tattoos showed what they bang, their posts online bragged about what they did, and the way they moved in the streets made it obvious. All the cops had to do was put the pieces together, and it led straight to the Hoover criminals. Fort Sill tried to brush it off, but the Lawton police had the proof. Gang members were using their military training to run illegal operations. But while Lawton, Oklahoma faced military-trained Hoovers, OKC was dealing with the unpredictable mass shootings carried out by petty street thugs. On April 17, 2003, Wilbur Colston, known as Halloween, was charged with first-degree murder after a shooting that claimed the life of 28-year-old Ronnie L. Bethany. The shooting took place in the front yard of a house on the north side of Oklahoma City, where Bethany was found dead from multiple gunshot wounds. Halloween was a known gangster in the Hoover criminals and had a history of legal issues, including previous charges for trafficking cocaine across Oklahoma. At the time of the shooting, it was reported that Halloween and Bethany were connected to rival gangs. Halloween was affiliated with the Hoover criminals, while Bethany was allegedly part of the Walnut Gangster Crips. This gang rivalry was believed to be the source of the conflict between them. Eventually, Halloween was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. In July 2010, Ryan Smith, also known as Big Mud 23, was involved in a brutal home invasion targeting defense attorney Stephen Rodolph. It's also said that he was behind the attack on another lawyer named Mr. Martin. Martin, who was confined to a wheelchair due to cancer, was beaten with a gun, and his daughter was dragged down the stairs by her hair. Mud and his Hoover gang stole money, a firearm, and 2 laptops. Another robbery took place at a nearby attorney's home, where guns were stolen from a visible safe. During the court proceedings, it was revealed that William Tatris was the mastermind behind the robbery and issued orders to Big Mud 23. Big Mud 23 allegedly pistol-whipped Chris Gentile, a friend of Rodolph's, after Gentile tried to protect his son. District Attorney Tim Harris emphasized that, had Big Mud gotten his way, everyone involved would have been killed. Big Mud was sentenced to 45 years in prison, with a 20-year probation period. He is required to serve 85% of his sentence, which means he will be incarcerated for at least 38 years before becoming eligible for parole. Big Mud is notorious.
38 years is nearly life in prison. You know, it's crazy. It's crazy. And then they implicating other people in a crime, saying that somebody sent them to do it. You got
on the streets for his affiliation with the West Side Hoover Crips, specifically West 23rd Maybell in Tulsa, which is the largest Hoover gang in Thugtown. His violent actions and criminal history have earned him a notorious reputation.
So they got different Hoover gangs out there. So we already seen the Hoovers in Louisiana, Shreveport, Fort Worth, Texas. They got Hoovers in Seattle, Portland, and right now, I mean, this is Oklahoma. They're everywhere, bro. But a lot of gangs are everywhere, in every state.
Within the area, leaving a lasting impact on the streets and rap scene.
And I was, though. You see what I'm saying? I was accused of robbing an attorney, though. And this why, and understand this, when you think of my case, a person thinking like, dang, it must, no. Trust me, though. When I say they brought out the railroad tracks for this case, they brought out the railroad tracks, man. Listen, understand this, though, man. They say 3 men assaulted these people, though, with masked men, with masked men. That's what they say. They say masked men done it. They came and got me and my big brother. My big brother been home. Mm-hmm. He got off the case. It was an identification issue. That's all it was, though. My brother said he didn't do nothing. He got off the case. They got a photo lineup of me. You hear me? Both of them did. Guess what they said, brother? They said it was not. They said it was not me. The lawyer said it was not me. The other man just said it was not me. They got a photo and said it was not me. There was no evidence that I done anything, though, at all. All right, nothing at all. Just the police come and say it was us. Literally, say it was me and my big brother did a robbery with a whole other dude. That's what it went like. So we go to court, though. They said it was been me through a ski mask.
With no DNA proof, they really can't prove it was you, so they just used you as a thing.
Well, I'm gonna tell you one thing, bro. They ran DNA too, though. I'm gonna tell you the tricky thing about this is, though, they ran DNA. They ran fingerprints. Hear me, though? Guess what the fingerprint said it was? I have a lab report right now.
You said they got rid of. You said they lost it or they got rid of it.
No. See. I understand something. You have.
I'm gonna tell you though. Everybody in prison, they got something going on with their case. They can tell you how they're innocent. I could too on my case. I can create a whole scenario for you how the court's fucked up, the victim was wrong, etc. I'm not saying that what he's saying is not accurate. It could absolutely be, because there are innocent people in prison. This is a fact. There are innocent people on death row. This is a fact.
You have. It's 2 types of DNAs. You have DNA as far as fingerprints, your prints go, and then you have biological DNA. Okay. The lab report, the original one, they tried to hide, and I showed it in the court, though. They got mad. The original lab report said that it's not my fingerprint. So if it's not my fingerprint, well, if you touch something, your glands sweat on it. You hear me? That's how you get biological. See what I'm saying? So the lab report said it wasn't my fingerprint, but then they lied and said it was my biological sweat on it. It doesn't make sense. You see what I'm saying? And also, the argument my lawyer said, they said, listen, though, if his older brother DNA was excluded because his DNA was there, though, how can Ryan Smith DNA be there? They got the same DNA, they brothers. See what I'm saying? It's all a lie, though, man. But man, brother, thank you for the interview, though, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you for giving me your time, man. You got any shout outs that you want to give?
All happened around 6.
Police cars fill a metro neighborhood as officers investigate a deadly shooting.
The Hoovers had many rivals as they grew their influence across Oklahoma City, but their most dangerous enemies were the neighborhood Crips. The Rolling 90 Crips were one of the main funks they had, and tensions between them had gotten so bad that it didn't matter where you came from or what you represented. If you were a Hoover, it was a death sentence. Jerry Clark was allegedly a member of the Pitts Park Hoovers, and word had spread among the 90 Crips that he was near a house on the 2100 block of Northeast 28th Street, which falls within 90 Crip territory. a member of the Rolling 90 Crips named Too Short fired several shots into Jerry's car as he was backing out. Too Short then fled the scene to avoid being identified, but unfortunately for him, he was spotted and later led the police on a chase a few days afterward. When local news stations covered the story, they initially believed it was a case of mistaken identity, portraying Jerry as just a local construction worker who was killed for wearing the orange shirt commonly worn for safety reasons. However, sources suggest Jerry was actually a well-known Hoover criminal with a reputation for clashing with the 90 Crips, making it clear that this wasn't a case of mistaken identity as the news had assumed. During the investigation, rumors started to spread that Too Short had been talking to the police, breaking the code he had pledged to follow when he joined the 90 Crips. People believed he may have helped with the case involving Davian Pollard, who is still fighting the murder charge. The other 90 Crips members pleaded guilty to conspiracy and were sentenced to 10 years in prison. One member, who was 14 years old at the time of the shooting, pleaded guilty to murder but was sentenced as a youthful offender. He was facing the possibility of life in prison if he fails to complete a treatment program administered by the Office of Juvenile Affairs. Too Short betrayed the 90 Crips and is now marked not only by the Hoovers but also by the gang he had killed for. While the Pitts Park Hoovers battled the 90 Crips, the Tulsa Hoovers had gained attention from law enforcement for their drug trafficking and gang wars with the Bloods and neighborhood Crips. Back in 2013,
that's just it with the gang banging people. You put in work for your hood, so-called put in work against your so-called ops, with your so-called cohorts, your comrades, your homies, and then they tell on you. They send you to prison for life. He tells on himself and he tells on the hood, tells on the so-called homies. It's not worth it. There's no get back, bro. There's no loyalty, no fealty in this shit.
Members of the 61st Hoover Quincy Crips, also known as the Ace Gang, were arrested in a major operation. These individuals were suspected of operating drug houses around 61st and Peoria, allegedly dealing crack cocaine. They were also linked to car thefts, robberies, and violent clashes with the Red Mob Gangster Bloods. The Quincy Hoover Crips controlled the South Side, putting pressure on the 5 Deuce Red Mob Bloods. The police were closing in on them, and it wasn't just about drugs. Laurel Battle and Gay One Blades were also facing weapons charges. The two men had been linked to violent crimes that were a part of their gang's rise to power in Tulsa. Battle had even been charged with murder before, but the case was dismissed when the key witness didn't show up in court. This time, however, the feds weren't going to let him slip through their fingers. The incident set off alarm bells for authorities, and not long after, Laurel Battle and Gay One Blades were arrested on unrelated charges. Things got even more intense when a Crips member named Anthony Campbell was shot and killed while taking out his trash in April of 2013. The Fortray Hoover criminals would also stand as one of Tulsa's most active and strategic Hoover sets, always plotting their next move against their rivals. Their long-standing war with the Rolling 60s has been a battle of both survival and dominance. It's been said that Fortray members have no hesitation when it comes to making their presence known. They've been known to pull up deep on 53rd and Hartford, the heart of Rolling 60s turf, hopping out of vehicles dressed in all blue, calling out neighborhood.
I be flaming that, hop a yelling neighborhood, and face whoever say it back. Hey, it's fuck the whole with nature, and I can't take it back. And if you really not bashing, niggas say it back. Like what's napping? What's napping? What's napping?
The word neighborhood is what the Rolling 60 Crips say to check if their members are around. But this isn't just a greeting, it's a trap. If someone answers back, thinking it's one of their own, they get drilled on the spot. The streets know how this works. It's a dangerous game where one wrong move can cost you your life. The 53rd block is like a battlefield. The Rolling 60s Crips have controlled the area for a long time, but the Fortray Hoovers keep coming at them, refusing to give up. The war between the Fortray Hoovers and the 5-Tray Rolling 60s has been going on for years, with the Hoovers and Crips going back to back with the gun violence. The Hoovers put so much pressure on the Crips that they had to team up.
The 5-Tray Rolling 60s? This is Oklahoma. It's a different state, different rules, different politics, different street numbers. But one thing remains the same, at least. The enemies that the gangs have in LA, apparently they have the same enemies out of state. It's essentially then all a replica of Los Angeles, California, as I've said before. The Hoovers in the 60s get into it out there in Oklahoma. The Hoovers in the neighborhoods, the Hoovers in the UGs, same thing in LA. It's the same thing in Louisiana and in Texas. The so-called opposition is the same for these gangs as the oppositional gangs in Los Angeles, California.
With the Bloods just to keep fighting back. But the Fortray Hoovers don't move alone. Their alliance with the OKC Hoovers strengthens their push, stretching their reach beyond Tulsa and into central Oklahoma. Because of this, they proudly push Fawn Chill Killer, taking the war beyond city lines. Despite Fawn Chill being rooted in central Oklahoma, the four Trays treat it like it's right next door. Their loyalty to the Hoover card is undeniable, and wherever their enemies stand, the war follows. On June 18, 2015, Daquan Runnels, a known Hoover gangster in Oklahoma City, was sentenced to 20 years in prison for the fatal shooting of 21-year-old Clarence Dickerson. Daquan approached Clarence in a parking lot in northeast Oklahoma City. They exchanged words, and in an instant, Daquan pulled out a gun and shot Clarence. Clarence collapsed to the ground, and Daquan fled the scene. Witnesses identified Daquan as the shooter, and he was later arrested. As part of a plea deal, Daquan was sentenced to 20 years in prison, followed by life on probation. The deal took place after his first trial ended in a mistrial when jurors could not reach a unanimous verdict. On the first day of jury selection for his retrial, Daquan changed his plea to no contest, admitting his role in the shooting. In addition to the murder case, Daquan also pleaded no contest to an unrelated robbery case and guilty to 4 other cases involving stolen property and burglary. These additional pleas further solidified his legal consequences, which were part of the broader agreement. The sentencing marked the end of his legal battle for the fatal shooting of Clarence. 2 members of the 54 Hoovers were stalking members of the Rolling 60 Crips, following them into a nearby barbershop where the Crip members were checking in and getting their haircuts. That's when the Hoovers charged into the shop and started drilling them, letting off several shots and turning the barbershop into a bloody mess. But the shooting didn't go one way. Gunfire was returned, turning the shop into a war zone. In the chaos, an innocent man named Kenneth Liggins was hit and drilled. 3 others were also shot. Police later identified one of the Hoovers as Hoover Dash, and saw that Dash's street rep had been a long one, with previous charges involving a ghost gun involved in another shooting, but was given a second chance by the judge, which was clearly a mistake. On December 8, 2016, the Hoover criminals were rumored to be behind another hit. Samuel was found guilty of ambushing 2 Oklahoma City police officers. It all started when he was pulled over during a traffic stop at Northwest 10th and Rockwell. After the traffic stop, the police were reportedly near their car, possibly finishing up some paperwork. Samuel was in a nearby apartment, planning the attack with his friend Tavone over the phone. Suddenly, Samuel opened fire from the apartment, shooting at the officers. The officers had to hide behind their patrol car as bullets hit it. One officer was grazed by a bullet, and another officer found a bullet lodged in his pocket. Samuel quickly ran away, dropping his sweatshirt and a 9mm pistol. He was caught a few days later in northeast Oklahoma City. A witness said they had seen Samuel hanging out with other members of the Hoover criminals gang before the shooting. At his trial, Samuel was charged with assault and battery with a deadly weapon, conspiracy to commit a felony, and 4 counts of shooting with intent to kill. In 2017, the family of a Hoover criminal would gain $1.25 million after a tragic event at the Oklahoma County Jail. The story starts with Maurice Dwayne Pendleton, a man also known as Little Smoke. Little Smoke was a prisoner in the Oklahoma County Jail, and his life would change in a very sad and painful way. He was said to be a Hoover gang member, though he was considered inactive at the time of his death. Little Smoke was left alone on the 8th floor basketball court with other inmates. No guards were watching him, and soon, things turned violent. The other prisoners attacked Little Smoke, beating him badly. He tried to run and scream for help, but no one was there to assist him. As he fled, his attackers caught him, and the brutal beating continued. They stripped him of his clothes, leaving him naked and defenseless. A maintenance worker saw the whole thing and tried to open the door to stop the attack, but he couldn't. By the time jailers arrived, it was too late. Little Smoke had already been severely injured, and he later died from his wounds. Before he passed away, Little Smoke had said, "I'm not going to make it." Sadly, he was right. His family was left heartbroken by the tragedy. Little Smoke's death was a painful reminder of the war behind the Oklahoma prison system. With things like this happening on the regular, his family would never forget what happened, and while nothing could bring him back, they fought for justice, hoping to hold those responsible accountable for the loss of their loved one. Rubio was an important witness in the case and testified that he saw the attack happen. He agreed to testify after prosecutors dropped some charges against him in his own cases. Before being charged in this case, 2 of the men involved, Gilliams and Hamid, were already facing murder charges for separate shootings in Oklahoma City. Back in 2018, a jury found 3 of the inmates guilty of second-degree murder. The 4th inmate was found not guilty. The 3 who were convicted are now trying to appeal their sentences. 3 of the defendants in the case are connected to the Rolling 20s and Rolling 90 Crips. The Rolling 90 Crips have a history of targeting anyone associated with the Hoovers to raise their numbers on the scoreboard. Smoke's family sued the county over the jail's dangerous conditions, saying officials had ignored these problems for over 20 years. In April 2023, the county agreed to settle the case for $1.25 million. Officials denied any wrongdoing but stated that
I'm still not sure why they killed him. I guess he's saying because he was from Hoover, but he was not active. He was no longer a member. But these prisons and jails are dangerous everywhere. And as we can see, these gangs And the gang violence is everywhere, bro. It is not just Los Angeles, California. It is dangerous everywhere.
It seemed best to settle, with more than a dozen similar lawsuits still pending. Going back to 2018, Little Seven was a wanted man. His real name was Quincy West, and he was known for being a major player in the Hoover criminals. Law enforcement said he was involved in some serious and dangerous crimes, like kidnapping, human trafficking, robbery, and even shootings. West wasn't just a member of the gang. Authorities believed he was the mastermind behind some of the gang's most brutal attacks. One of the biggest things police were investigating was a series of drive-by shootings, targeting his rivals, the neighborhood Crips. In one of these attacks, Little Seven would allegedly help and carry out a shooting in July at the home of an Altus officer. This kind of violence made West a top priority for law enforcement. What made his case even more interesting was that West wasn't your typical criminal. Little Seven was in a wheelchair at the time because of a gunshot wound he got 4 years before. He was still very active. Police said that even though he had a hard time getting around physically, he was often traveling back and forth between Oklahoma City and Southwest Oklahoma. This made him even harder to catch, and it was clear that he wasn't going to let his disability slow him down. For a long time, West stayed out of sight, and law enforcement struggled to track him down. The authorities even offered a $1,000 reward for information that could help them catch him, warning the public that he was armed and dangerous. His violent history made it clear that he was a threat, and police were worried about what he might do next. But in the afternoon of May 10, 2018, the search finally came to an end. At around 4:21 p.m., Little Seven was arrested without any violence or problems. The authorities were able to catch him without incident, even though he had been a major target for law enforcement for quite some time. Back in 2016, a Hoover member named Bad News would be linked to a shooting that resulted in the deaths of Devra Gale Crutcher, 49, from Drumright, and Adrian Lindell Hawthorne, 24, from Oklahoma City. Bad News, a known member of the Hoover criminal gang, is accused of carrying out the double homicide. Around 2:45 p.m., police responded to reports of two bodies found in a black Nissan Altima at Northeast 15th and Highland Drive. Officers discovered Crutcher dead in the driver's seat and Hawthorne in the front passenger seat, both victims having been shot in the head. Investigators connected Bad News to the crime after receiving tips from witnesses. A court affidavit indicated that Bad News had gone to the location for a drug transaction with the victims just before they were killed. One witness reported seeing Bad News enter the vehicle with Crutcher and Hawthorne shortly before the shooting and was able to positively identify him from a jail photo. There were claims that Adrian Lindell Hawthorne may have been affiliated with the 87 North Highland Piru Bloods, although this connection remains unverified. Back in 2018, a member of the Hoovers named Hoover Jack was sentenced to more than 32 years in federal prison. His crimes: armed robbery, carrying a gun as a felon, and being part of a violent gang operation. Jack and his crew had been alleged of running a
And that drug trade is very dangerous, as we all know, because how many people have been set up, how many people have went to make a deal, even just buying a bag of weed, and lose their life because the person doesn't want to pay for it and takes them out, bro.
Robbery scheme in Lawton, Oklahoma. In one case, they broke into an apartment. Jack pulled out a pistol while another gang member smashed a resident in the head with a metal pipe. They were terrorizing the streets, but the law was watching. The feds built a case against Jack, and when he went to trial, the jury found him guilty on several serious charges. However, he dodged a conviction on drug-related charges. On January 5, 2018, the judge handed him 386 months behind bars, which is over 32 years.
You can see the smoke bombs in the distance.
Now, the former officer we witnessed with his knee on George Floyd's neck is a convicted murderer.
We are sending a message to the city of Tulsa, to the city councilors, and to the mayor who erased Black Lives Matter from Black Wall Street.
Man, that was, the race massacre.
On May 25th, 2020, the United States would enter one of the most racially divided periods in modern history, with the drilling of George Floyd. Protests erupted across the nation, and cities and states became engulfed in riots as people took to the streets, voicing their anger and frustration for law enforcement. Protesters set fire to cities, while theft and robberies surged. During all of this, gang members took advantage of the situation, aligning with the protesters and committing crimes, though a smaller percentage of people were genuinely protesting for justice. Tulsa was no different, especially with the news bringing attention back to Greenwood's Black Wall Street.
No, it wasn't a smaller percentage of people that were protesting for justice. All of them were protesting for justice, one way or another.
Black Lives Matter activists and gang members hit the streets, making the situation even worse. One person accused of making things worse was Eric Ruffin. Ruffin was said to be involved in burning an Oklahoma...
Just be happy, because this dude who's narrating this is not black. Just be happy that these protests are non-violent, all of them, always, other than a few rocks being thrown and a fire being set somewhere but people are going home alive. You're blessed.
County Sheriff's van and trying to set a bail bonds office on fire during the May 30th, 2020 protests in Oklahoma City after George Floyd's death. Police say he filmed the events on Facebook Live and encouraged the destruction. On June 10th, 2020, Oklahoma County District Attorney David Prater sent an email to Mayor David Holt warning him about Ruffin. Ruffin was accused of being a member or associate of the Hoover criminals in Tulsa. Prater said Ruffin was directly involved in the vandalism and called him dangerous, telling the mayor not to let him near him. Even though Ruffin tried to act like a peaceful activist, authorities believed he was involved in the violence. Ruffin was charged on June 26th and July 2nd for his part in the incidents and was released on a $750,000 bail with help from the Black Lives Matter chapter in Oklahoma City. Before the charges, Ruffin had helped organize a roundtable discussion in June, which was attended by Police Chief Wade Gorley and State Representative A.J. Pittman. Later, Prater's email was found through a public records lawsuit filed by activist Jess Eddy, who accused city officials of delaying their responses to records requests. The lawsuit also challenged the city's refusal to release body camera footage from a police shooting of a 15-year-old suspect in a separate case. This only added to the questions about fairness and transparency during the protests. This time marked a turning point in the fight for racial justice. Eric Ruffin spoke out about what happened to him after he was charged for his actions during the May 2020 protests in Oklahoma City. He said the protests got out of control, but he never started any fires or hurt anyone. Eric remembered a time when people at Walmart called him a terrorist, and he told them, "You don't even know who I am." Eric had to fight for nearly a year to clear his name. He explained that after videos showed protesters setting fires, he was charged with terrorism and arson along with 2 other people. However, Eric said he didn't break anything or tell anyone to break anything.
So when I arrived at the actual protest, because I got out of the car and I caught up with the long list of people, it was hundreds of people that was all marching. So I just got in line with them, and we all marched down to the police station. As soon as I got down there, a lot of people recognized my face because my mask was down. Wrong move, but my actual mask was down, and that's when people started to actually come around me. I was shaking hands, saying what's up to people, just having a small conversation.
Please tell me. Please tell me. Please tell me. When the last time y'all seen this? When the last time y'all seen this? Come on now. Come on now. Come on now. Come on now. Come on, nigga, tell him to say his name, bro. Nigga, tell him to say his name, bro.
What's up?
Say his name.
George Floyd!
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 That's what the fuck we here for. We ain't here to riot. Y'all want us to do that shit. This is what the fuck we here for. Y'all want us to riot. Y'all want us to do that. That's what the fuck we here for.
The district attorney eventually dropped the terrorism charge. Eric pleaded guilty to third-degree arson.
Terrorism. He's a terrorist, but the Ku Klux Klan are not terrorists. Really? This is bananas. This is what they do, though. They was just out there, it looks to me like they were peacefully protesting. Some America knows nothing about.
Instead, his lawyer Clay Curtis said Eric took responsibility for helping to encourage people that night. Eric was given a 3-year sentence, but wouldn't have to go to prison if he stayed out of trouble. He also had to pay $5,000 to fix the damage caused by the protests. The charges, especially the terrorism label, hurt Eric's life. He lost his job working in the mental health field, which he said was really hard for his career. Eric said being called a terrorist literally ruined my life. Even though it was tough, Eric said he would keep fighting for change in his community. He believed the protests were about bringing attention to important issues, and he didn't want to stop working for a better future. Eric Ruffin has been labeled a Hoover, or affiliated with them by law enforcement, and while I can't confirm whether that's true or not, I believe he's one of the few who genuinely wants to bring about change in this corrupt country and put an end to police brutality. In 2024, things got heated between the 48 Denver-made Hoovers and the 47 Green Team at the Tulsa Fair. The Hoovers caught some Green Team members walking around and decided to jump them, leaving one Green Team member knocked out. But the Green Team wasn't going to let that slide. Rumors spread that they got their revenge, attacking a few Hoovers throughout the month.
Shootouts in the 40s. The ops, my neighbors, always been outnumbered. So I'm head first. Brother rolling Reggie up, he make my head hurt. Bounce on the ops, show 'em
The long-standing feud between the Hoovers and the Green Team is rumored to have started like this. Even though the 47 Green Team's block is in Rollin 40's territory, they aren't Crips. Their origins are said to trace back to an old Pyru set in Compton called Fruit Trees, a mix of Treetop and Fruit Town. But when Fruit Trees fell apart in California, some OGs supposedly moved down south to restart it under a new name, Green Team. But things took a dark turn when the Hoovers allegedly set him up and robbed him. This betrayal is said to have sparked a war, with the Bloods and neighborhood Crips siding against the Hoovers. After Killatay was killed, his nephew, Larnell T, reportedly stepped up to continue his uncle's legacy. He was originally with the neighborhood Crips but decided to take things further, making the 4700 block near 46th and Boston Avenue the heart of the Green Team. It's said that neighborhood Crips and members of the 52 Red Mob Bloods aligned with Green Team to help avenge Killatay's death. The Green Team is rumored to be its own gang, so the Green Team are not Crips, even though they have ties to them. They wear green and call themselves Codys instead. Back in 2010, the Hoovers had taken out one of the alleged generals of the Green Team, adding more fuel to the ongoing war. One night, a man pulled into the parking lot of the...
So they got a lot of different Hoover sets out here. He just said 47, 54, 107. They got them everywhere out there. 4-tray. And they beefing and they going and they unaliving each other, bro.
Seminole Hills Apartments on East Ute Street. As soon as he stepped out of his car, someone was waiting for him. Witnesses say the shooter ambushed him, firing several shots before running off, still shooting. When police arrived, they found the victim dead right there in the lot. A few days later, in the early morning hours, they arrested a young member of one of the groups. He was just 17 years old, but police charged him with murder. The investigation continued as authorities tried to piece together the motive behind the attack, but many believed it was tied to the ongoing rivalry between the Green Team and Hoovers. In Oklahoma City, a young member of the Pitts Park Hoovers was killed by a Fawn-Shill gangster Crip. The person responsible was a juvenile, so he was sent to the Berry House Detention Center. This gave the FGC an advantage, but the Hoovers quickly got revenge. Inside the Berry House, Hoover members attacked the Fawn-Shill Crips, badly beating those responsible or anyone who disrespected them. G. Rico's death may have been linked to the ongoing rap beef between the Fawn-Shill Crips and the Hoovers, as both sides have released diss tracks and posted subliminal messages online targeting each other.
Catch your body gang and MPA, and you niggas ain't on the roof with this shit, nigga. 30 out, all that. Gang, nigga. MPA catch your body gang, nigga. Fuck that. All that, nigga. North ass battery. Nigga, stand ass up, nigga. Catch your body, nigga. Nigga, all that chopping, nigga. Fuck all that IG, nigga. Chopping in. Hashtag, nigga, block to it, nigga. Fuck Hoover, nigga.
These dudes are young, bro. These some young individuals, man, out here with these damn guns, with these damn weapons, gang banging, man. This is crazy. Everywhere this shit is going on, man. You gotta stop this shit everywhere, not just in LA.
You already know.
Fuck the shield, them niggas dead block, they ain't never in they hood. I've been with Tiny Tragic, can't forget about Sneak Deuce. Wallow lost the ARP and still show you.
With this, I catch a stamp, he getting touched. 25 to 3 win, bitch, we done bent that bitch.
Hey, got baby crims from the 6 and from the hills at Pitts Park. I could call a shotgun and get him. If you know, then you know. I'm so FK, 5.56 and 6'2s. This is not a Drake.
How YS, why Bill know? They homie died and they ain't slide. All they did was go get clothes. Yeah, niggas said fuck top. Yeah, nigga, yeah, I creep out there. Behind my brothers, I hit your block. Yeah, nigga make you a pack. Tryna kill. Since we was little, we been in the field. Terrorize shit for real. This on rolls, this shit get. The problem ain't built. I nigga in my DM, I ain't responding. I'm finna come later build. Later build. I pop out in the window with the heater, make a nigga melt. We drop shells. Nigga love popping on Insta, but really be tugging they tails. Yeah, drop those like a quarterback. This little baby, you can't sip on.
The Hoovers also taunted the 46 neighborhood Crips, standing outside their apartments and warning them that if they came out, they would be shot. The 46 neighborhood Crips replied laughing and saying this wouldn't have gone down during the daytime and that they posted up only because people were asleep in their homes. Right now, the Hoovers are still active in Oklahoma, targeting their rivals and expanding to other places like Idabel, Muskogee, and Eden. Memberships are now available. If you don't want to wait to watch new content.
Wow. All right. So the Hoovers are everywhere, as we can see. And he just said that not only everywhere around the world, apparently, or in different states, but Even right there in Oklahoma, they have different Hoover sets, as opposed to like Louisiana, it looked like they just had the Hoover gangster Crips, and he kept saying there were no other Hoovers there, no Hoover Crip gangs. But right there in Oklahoma, as we can see, they have different factions, and they're all at war. They're all getting into it, and they're still going strong. They're everywhere. We'll continue to cover this, man. Stay safe and stay free, people.